Hawaii, America's premier vacation destination, and home to the U.S. Naval Pacific Fleet Command and historic Forward Island at Pearl Harbor. This is the last race of the 1997 Unlimited Hydro Series. From the deck of the newly commissioned USS, highs and lows for these teams, especially the top three. The Budweiser team, new driver Dave Villwock began the season with 19 consecutive heat wins, and then in Tri-Cities, disaster.
Dave Villwock blew over in the final heat, injured his hand, out for the season.
The new driver, Mark Webber, not able to make the final in Kelowna. Another wreck in Seattle, Elan Plus up on top of the boat. But then a high in Las Vegas when Webber won and opened up a good lead in the O'Doul's high point standings. Here in Hawaii, in qualifying, the Budweiser broke a propeller. It's fixed, they're ready to run, but in kind of a prevent defense.
They have to be in a prevent defense. They've got to protect the boat. They only need a couple of second-place finishes, so they don't have to run the boat that fast.
If they're able to get the O'Doul's High Point Championship, it'll be the 17th for Bernie Little and the Budweiser team. As for the Pico American Dream, the new driver, Mark Evans, started out on a low. He led in the final at the Gold Cup in Detroit, but close call rolled over. And in the restart, Pico broke. 4 tough races after that, and then in Tri-Cities, when the Budweiser broke, Pico broke through.
They certainly did in a big way. They've got 4 straight victories after that, even including the impossible flip and win.
But then in Las Vegas, trying to win in the final, Evans came to the inside, hit a buoy, and fell back in the point standings. And then another low here in Hawaii when he flipped the boat in qualifying. He's okay.
We're not finished now. We got the second boat, and I haven't seen my boat, but it sounds like it's not going to be runnable. We're going to still go out and do it. So, I mean, that's what we're here to race, and that's why Fred brings extra boats and builds so many boats so we can have extras. So we'll go do it.
It was flying for a long time. What happened?
I wanted to get first qualifier, and, you know, you got to hang it out sometimes to do it, and just went a little too far and carried up there a ways and just decided not to come back down.
Pico's gone to a backup boat, but it's a fast boat, and mathematically, they still have a chance to win the O'Doul's High Points Championship. As for Mark Evans, he's only 50 points out of the lead for the Drivers' Championship, and that brings us to the third mark, Mark Tate and the close call team. It's been a low point all year for that club.
That's for sure. They've had mechanical problems. The boat hasn't handled well. Their propeller program's not up to speed. They haven't won a race yet, but they finished 3 second places in a row.
And a high here at Pearl Harbor. The close call boat clocking 167 miles per hour qualifying pass. Good for the #1 spot and the fastest qualifying lap all season long. With a lead of almost 1,000 points, Miss Budweiser needs just to finish 3 heats to clinch the O'Doul's Championship. But as we've seen all season, there's nothing for certain in Unlimited Hydro. We've seen amazing comebacks against what seemed like impossible odds. Pico rebuilding the hull in Detroit after a collision with truck gear and coming back to run. Later on, after they flipped in Seattle, the Pico was repaired and came back to win. Well, another team has learned from an earlier incident this season, comes prepared now, as Tom explains in Pico Performance Corner.
During a qualifying session, the Budweiser did a lot of damage to the back of the boat. While out there running, they hit something on the race course, obviously submerged. It impacted this blade of the propeller first, and then you can see where the impact is on this blade, and then, of course, the blade that failed. Now, they did this in the past at Kelowna, British Columbia, and it took them over a day and a half to repair all the damage. They're more prepared at this race site. They've prefabricated frames and aluminum panels, and they brought the honeycomb with them. They've got the patch for the bottom. Everything is all pre-drilled. A lot is at stake here. The Budweiser wants to win this title in 1997, and they're going to have to perform an all-nighter to get this thing done.
Well, the team did work all night, got the repairs done, still barely dry here in Heat 1A, defending against close call. Also in the starting lineup for 1A, Appy and Geronimo, which is co-owned by Jerry Rise and Bob Fendler out of Honolulu here, and Stephen David in lane 4 driving Jim Harvey's Deja Vu. 4 boats. The battle should be between the boats in lanes 1 and 2, close call, and Miss Budweiser, Mark Tate and Mark Webber. On board now, taking a look at the face of Mark Tate. Got to be intense here. He's still looking for his first win this season. There's the green flag.
We saw Mark Tate looking in his mirrors just a second ago, and he was looking for the Budweiser. Well, the Budweiser was getting a jump on him heading to that first turn. Mark Tate has the inside, though, and that's the advantage even on this big turn course.
From the Labatt Eye in the Sky, we saw Budweiser with the early lead. We pointed out at the start of the program, Budweiser should be in kind of a prevent situation, just don't break. And yet here Weber jumps right out to the lead. Why would he do that?
Well, he's obviously running real easy. You can see he's not giving the boat a lot of canard. And believe me, he'd be satisfied for a second place finish in this particular heat. Everything's new. They haven't run the boat since they've repaired it, so he is still in that prevent defense.
And sure enough, Mark Tate now has grabbed the lead in that inside lane over Mark Webber in Budweiser as we come to the completion of lap 1 out of 3. And there are the owners, Bernie Little on the left, Steve Boomer on the right, cheering on their drivers.
I'll tell you what, as much body English as they're showing us, they could be in the cockpit driving these.
Mark Tate opening up now a substantial lead. The Zodiac lap timer showing us an average speed of 156 miles an hour for close call in that first lap. And we see him stretching that lead now as we come around the wide turn. These are very wide turns on this 2.5-mile course.
Extremely wide turns. These turns are the widest on the circuit. Remember, this is salt water. We're here in Pearl Harbor. It's very smooth water, very fast race course.
It would seem to favor Mark Tate on the close call, which has had trouble over the course of the season keeping the inside lane. Mitch Evans now in third place in the Appian Geronimo, which means that Stephen David is trailing. But here we are back in the front, and Mark Tate seems to have this heat in hand, maintaining that lead over Mark Webber in the Bud, coming around and heading into that last lap.
I like the way Jim Lucero has set the boat up for these wide corners. He's keeping the boat floating all the way around the corners and all the way down the straightaway.
Jim Lucero, of course, the veteran crew chief for close call. I mentioned a moment ago the difficulty that Tate has had sometimes keeping the boat tight. But they've got that set up pretty well, and now Mark Webber is watching the rooster tail from inside his cockpit way ahead of it.
The close call boat is running beautifully. You know, on these large corners, they can run a shallower skid fin. They can let the boat have its head a little more, breathe it off the corner, and accelerate. They're almost at top speed all the time.
They've obviously got it all set up right this time because Mark Tate is coming around the final time of the Pearl City turn and heading for the checkered flag. Back in fourth place, trailing the field, is Stephen David in the Deja Vu. Here comes Tate, though, to take the first checkered flag of this event at the JN Hydro Fest. It's going to be 400 points for him, for the team, and for him as the driver. Both very important. And a very happy close call crew it is on the dock, watching Tate performing marvelously in the boat that they have set up so well. And coming in fourth, Steve David, who won here in 1993. So as we check the Fruit of the Loom results, we see the close call got the 400 it needs, and Budweiser picking up 300 of the 643 it needs to wrap up the O'Doul's High Point Championship. Would you believe that Steve Woomer is set to leave all this? He says he's done.
This is the last race with mixed emotion. You know, I love the sport and had a lot of ups and downs in the sport, but there's a lot of other things I want to do, and one of them is a lot of fishing.
What about the boats?
Well, all the operations, all the boats are for sale at this time. You know, so we'll just sit back and see if a buyer surfaces and go from there.
But right now, his boat's a heat winner. Let's go down to Tom at the dock.
Well, the Bud led you a little bit going into that first turn and down the backstretch, but then, boy, you gathered it up.
Yeah, they got a little better start than we did. They anticipated it a little better, and, you know, then down the back chute, I was pulling them going into 3 and 4, and got through there real good.
Yeah, it looked like on the start, Stephen David, the pace boat, really made a fast start, which kind of left you stopped a little bit.
Yeah, I was dragging back there a little bit. We won't get caught like that again. You know, referees talked about what type of start they wanted, and, you know, maybe it was a little faster than what I expected, but we'll look after it the rest of the day.